I want to ask you, because when you talk about what you just mentioned, what you just spoke on, and I appreciate it, I think of the colonizers and all the bloodshed that was in the name of God, and the Bible was. You can open the Bible and say, yeah, look at all the bloodshed here. So it was right. Can you speak to us about bloodshed? And not just, I want you to please start with the Bible and talk to us about the blood sacrifice. But can you also explain to us what your take is on blood sacrifice in spirituality? But I really would like for you to first start with how it's been twisted by the colonizer, used against us, and then talk to us about where it fits in with African spirituality, blood sacrifice. You're muted.
Firstly, we need to unpack right from the Bible. As you rightfully say, I must start from the Bible. That the first time blood is spilled in the Bible, of course, it is the birth of Cain and the birth of Abel. But if I really wanted to become naughty like a good pastor, I would say the first time blood was spilled, it is when Adam slept with Eve, if she was a virgin. Then you find that the covenant of blood starts right there, where the uniting of two people begins. So there's a covenant of blood, there's a covenant of water, there's a covenant of salt. I mean, that's a study for another day. I don't want to torture you with that. But the first time someone is actually killed in the Bible, it is when Cain killed Abel. And what is so beautiful about that passage, in as much as people are in a hurry to explain the theology around Cain and Abel, as an African scholar, I want to speak to the concept of blood, that at the death of Abel, it is God who descends and say, his blood is speaking. His blood has come up here, and Abel is talking to me. I've heard it from the heavens while you spilled the blood on the ground. It therefore means that life is sacred to an African. And there's no single drop of blood that falls to the ground and does not register as to the one who has caused it. So blood is an important part of our understanding as African spirituals and African spiritual practitioners. When it comes to wars and murders, particularly in the colonial space, the colonialist has been allowed to walk away with lots of crime because he neither understands blood and the implications of what that means. To kill someone is to place yourself in the position of God, that you can exterminate a divine plan for your own purpose and decisions that you have decided that this person is not worth living, and you are taking over the responsibility of godliness into your own hands. It's an unforgivable sin. It is the first sin that is committed in the Bible by a human being in terms of man to man. Yes, Adam ate the fruit and Eve, but when we come now to the application of sin, murder becomes the first crime that we find. And of course, the last murder that will happen in the Bible, when you read the Revelation, it is when death and grave will be killed. It actually says, and God will destroy death and Hades. So you have two murders, literally. But I don't want to push too much into theology. I want them to move back a little bit and step back into the Torahic understanding of the sacrifice of Abraham trying to kill his son, which was not a new habit. And altogether in the whole Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, the killing of children and killing of sons and daughters was purely illegal. Any man who kills his son or kills his daughter is an abomination before the Lord. Dugu in the New Testament, God has killed his son. But in the Old Testament, he said, you cannot kill your son. How do you kill your son now? And it puts this complicated concept. Is it possible that actually Christianity, as taught to us today, it is actually founded on human sacrifice? Is that biblical? Who killed Jesus? God or the devil? Are we saying that God accepts a sacrifice of a human being as a means of forgiveness Or we are saying the example of a lifestyle that is upright is what God is looking for. So that the concept of the cross, salvation is not found on the cross of Jesus. This I know will cause heads to roll. But let me say it nicely as a theologian. The real service of salvation is in the upper room, where the Messiah takes a dish of water and he washes his brothers, his disciples' feet as service. And he says, do this in remembrance of me. Therefore, salvation is not found by holding on to the cross of the death of Jesus. Salvation is found when we wash each other's feet. By this they will know that you are my disciples, not by carrying crosses. By this they will know you're my disciples when you love one another. Therefore, the concept of us being of service to each other. That's why right now we have a huge bunch of Christianity that is full of criminals and thugs, because they think that by confessing on the cross, they will make it to heaven. When in fact, they will be asked the question, where are the children that I gave you? Matthew chapter 25. When I was in prison, you never visited me. When I was hungry, you never gave me food. When I was homeless, you never gave me shelter. And they said, no, but we did all this. But no, you did not do them to any one of these little ones. And at the end of the day, salvation is not based on our confession of the blood of Jesus on the cross. Rather, it is our service to mankind. In conclusion, how can you say you love God whom you have never seen? And yet you hate your brother, whom you live with on a day-to-day basis. So what are we saying? Are we saying our salvation is a romanticized affair with the unseen, or salvation is our service with the sin, the human beings, the fellow mankind? How can I call you mankind or womankind or humankind when you are not kind to humans, when you are not kind to women, when you are not kind to men? This kindness is the basis at which we learn the true meaning, the practice of what we might call the gospel. And right there, I would pin it on your neck. That is Ubuntu. Umuntu, ngumuntu, ngabantu. You become a person because you have seen value in other people. When they become, you also become with them. And do unto others, Matthew 13, as you want others to do unto you. For this is the summary of the law and the prophets. Therefore, practice Christianity, practice spirituality. It is your service to mankind, not your confession on a tree